Welcome to the Hopium Podcast, hosted by Jp3g and Burmpf. As always, this is not financial advice.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hopium Podcast. We have the King Monkey himself, Nam. I'm sure everyone's pretty familiar with him. Nam, to start off, could you just tell your story? I guess how you got into Solana, how you got into crypto, how you got into the monkeys and the monkey board.
For sure. So my crypto story is, I think, what was a lot more common a while ago, which is that I got into crypto using the Silk Road as a way to buy and sell certain hard to find goods and services. And that realistically led me to Bitcoin in the way that, the cryptocurrency economy really started as a way to essentially navigate around restrictions based on your geolocation. I'm not like an early Bitcoin evangelist by any means. I utilized the service. I traded on Mt. Gox. I thought it sucked. Like, it wasn't great UX or UI design. So I really faded crypto for a number of years until I got to the point where, I was doing my computer science degree and focusing on development work, and was attracted to Ethereum and the Solidity environment just for the real dev culture that was building up around there. And then I got sucked into the ICO cycle of the infrastructure, just because I really liked, the idea that I was going to be able to make money and pay for all of my student loans. That was going to be great. That didn't really work out. Lost a lot of my bag in 2018 with how everything went. So focused on my job, and then got a little bit more work building out a few different forks of coins, and still keeping active in the space and talking with people and keeping my relationships going. And then from there, I got introduced by a good friend into the Solana environment, just as a way of just saying, hey, you should learn Rust, work through here. There's some interesting things going on. Not a great Rust dev. Haven't really been, so I was still just working through my previous employment and trying to learn on the side, until I got really interested in the beginning of the NFTs that were starting out in Solana, in early summer, or the early Solana summer. From there, got lucky, minted the SMB collection from a tip from a friend, and really got focused into that community. Wanted to be kind of an ambassador and an active holder. So I was one of the founding members of the Monkedao, which is the community organization focusing around promoting the SMB brand, organizing events, facilitating interactions between holders, functioning essentially as sort of a project incubator, and now building out to everything else that we're doing through like Monkey Ventures, all of our sub-DAO structures and everything, which we can get into later. We don't need to talk about that right now. But I guess an early crypto enjoyer, not necessarily an investor, and now I'm lucky enough to be working full time in the space on Monkedao, and making sure that I'm one of the current elected board members, and hoping to run the DAO organization and improve DAOs on Solana.
So how did the Monkedao first start? Because I know obviously the Monkedao is a separate entity from the SMB team, and that's not really normal for the rest of the DAOs that have been formed so far. So how did the DAO start separately from the dev team?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to look at is like a lot of DAOs, especially if you go from the Ethereum basis, utilizing something like Maker or Friends with Benefits or People Pleaser as your example, is that a lot of DAOs essentially acted as payment protocols, where they were essentially put money in, earn yield on it, take money out. Stuff like Olympus really comes to mind in that way, shape, and form. So when we started minting SMB, there was no marketplace that we were listed on. The only real exchange at that time was Solanart, which was focused on the DAA mint that was upcoming next week. Obviously only wanted to focus on one primate based NFT at a time, which is totally fair. So the SMB development team was actually working on building a marketplace that we can trade on, which is still the current marketplace for 0% fees. That is still live today. We essentially formed all of our community bonds interaction around trading through initial over-the-counter trades in Discord, which essentially created a web of trust where you would find either a moderator or someone else that you enjoyed interacting with or that you had previous experience with, inside or outside of the NFT world, and then conducted all of those trades there. So that essentially morphed into a couple of different group chats, a new Discord server, and the formation of the DAO, where a bunch of people who were already invested into the project decided to become more of activist holders and really focus on promoting the actual SMB brand. And this is a time where the brand of NFTs, I don't think, was as large of a conversation as it is now. But it is something where we really wanted to promote, the bags that we were holding, and we wanted to turn it into a proper DAO and a proper community. A lot of that, I think, stemmed maybe from some potential, I think, discontent in the community is probably an easy way to say it. There's always something where people wanted to focus on building out faster than what the original development roadmap was. But this was also at a time where there were really no roadmaps for NFT projects in general. The most built out one at the time was Solarians, which was, the potential of royalties on a new exchange digitalized. And that was realistically what they were offering. This is very much something where you were buying art from a collection. So we started Monkedao essentially as a way to promote the art and promote the NFT. And now it's morphed into kind of general oversight onto the collection, how we can organize real life events, merchandise, like what you guys are rocking right now, and everything else that we have going on. And we're trying to improve DAOs on Solana so that from a UI UX perspective, they're a lot more intuitive, as well as from capability perspective, that they have a lot more integrations and they're a lot easier to spin up. We want it to be something where you can make a DAO in 5-10 minutes through something like Squads or Tribeca, rather than having to necessarily work through best practices or figure out a lot of this stuff on your own.
So in the beginning, when the DAO first started, what was the communication like with like the dev team, or was there any at all?
Yeah, there was definitely, the existing SMB server was a place where you could communicate with devs. We would talk to MMT or Karn, on a daily basis, and getting updates from what was going on for the project. As Monkedao kind of, formed or progressed or became a little bit more of a serious organization rather than initially kind of a ragtag community group, we started having more active conversations that morphed into kind of weekly update calls with the development team. I think they always had the idea of forming a different community group, so we definitely front ran them a little bit in terms of that, and trying to make those two teams that had the same goals in mind but weren't necessarily aligned in like communication strategies was a little bit difficult. But we tried to make the best of it as like a very passionate community group, as well as a team of developers trying to execute what they were looking for in their vision.
So okay, because from the perspective of a general holder, right? I'm assuming that those like meetings, those weekly meetings, are they still like ongoing? Have they been through the whole time, or?
Yeah, so we've definitely morphed more recently into trying to work closer together in terms of what's been going on, especially over the last couple of months, as there's been a rise and fall of NFT projects. Obviously, everything there is a learning experience. You can see a lot of things from the success of projects like DGOS or Whales, or the way that any of these things, even how DAA is interacting with its community. And I think the development team is very aware of that, and that they're interested in being more interactive in the space. It's probably just a little bit of also the issue on the DAO of how we have been communicating, on behalf of the development team, right? Like these are for people who wanted to be anonymous, who want to just release a project and then continue to work on it and move out. And we've kind of, forced the issue and had them be more involved. Obviously, something like the royalty and entanglement conversations that were happening in February, promoted a lot more outset, and the team ended up hiring a new community manager, as well as 2 more developers to actually keep working on building out the brand of SMB. And that's something that I'm excited about and that I'm looking forward to. But I think a lot of those conversations and kind of like weekly town halls or any that could have been a lot more public, but that's very easy to say from hindsight.
Yeah, so I mean, from a just a holder perspective, as someone that's like not a part of like any of these backroom conversations, it's kind of put a like a chip on my shoulder, because we had those conversations about entanglement and all that. And personally, I was for entanglement, because front facing. We've seen almost nothing from the dev team. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, they're taking so much from a project that was made by completely different people. Like, I mean, they made the NFTs and they made the marketplace, but since then, like you said, they hired 2 new devs, but then we get tweets from them saying that they're gonna take down the only thing that so far they've really contributed beyond the NFT and in the marketplace. So, I mean, is there like something that they're doing that we're just not like that I'm personally not aware of, or?
Yeah, I think that's probably a conversation that I'm even not necessarily equipped to have. Like, I only see from what they're willing to converse with, but there are people who are interested in building out their project, right? And I think a lot of it is us trying to force a new community meta onto people who already existed. And I firmly believe that, you know, I buy NFTs for the community and the art, not necessarily for utility or promises of future development. I totally respect and understand the fact that they have their own pace that they want to work at and the way that they want to push things out. Do I understand the issues that, you know, maybe the community sees or the complaints around transparency or speed? Absolutely. I can reconcile with that, especially in light of other NFT projects that are going on. I was, you know, back and forth on the issue of entanglement. I've been pretty outspoken on a lot of issues and a lot of the ways that the team can improve, and also on the ways that the DAO can improve on for promoting the community. Realistically, like I just want to make sure that we support them as much as they can be supporting us, because I don't think, you know, I don't think the negative way of interacting with it really did anything, especially now in light of the current environment, where everybody who is involved in crypto, right, is probably hurting over the last year. I'm much more of the idea of trying to find alternative value and ways that we can continue to promote the SMB brand and Monkedao brand through things like real life events, merchandise, all of these things that have obviously taken hold in the community psyche, and pushing it into the way so that we're leaders in that front, rather than trying to be kind of like second movers into a lot of different things like staking or coins or anything around there. I think there's value to that, but I don't necessarily think we're in a position where, you know, I don't have control over anything in the project. I don't have the ability to make NFTs mutable or immutable, or the ability to add or subtract certain features to the NFT. So I am here as a community advocate. I'm obviously having a bias myself. I like monkeys.
Right.
I like the Monkedao. I helped, you know, I think shape the community in some way, shape, or form. I just want to continue to be working on that as much as possible. And so maybe I'm probably just like too much of a dev apologist in a few people's eyes, but I think that I have a lot more to do for the project itself before I can really keep trying to push it that way. So to answer your original question, there's probably a lot more to do, and I understand community frustrations around maybe the speed that things are being executed at, but I'm just trusting in the team and what they're trying to work on.
So as somebody who was like when I got my monkey, man, it was euphoric. Like it was such a cool moment. And it was something that I worked for from August to February, and like the welcome was cool and everything about it was awesome. And I got in right when the entanglement conversations were happening, and it was like, okay. And I kind of learned about the dev team, because from the outside looking in, I'll be honest, Monkedao is the face of the SMB project itself. If you ask me, I had no idea there was an SMB Discord separate from the DAOs. I didn't know about the dev team, anything like that. So as far as like new, because I don't hold a monkey currently, I'd love to get back into the monkeys, trying to find one that's on my merch. But so for somebody like on the outside looking in, with the dev team being kind of quiet and how things seem to move, how fast they move in a space, like what would you tell somebody like that's looking to buy a monkey like in today? Like what you know, why get a monkey? What is the perk of, you know, buying a monkey over, let's say, like a tail or a whale?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are definitely in the space where we are trying to focus on our core group of people, which is developers, artists, and project builders. That's all we've ever been focused on from the beginning of the space. So the easy answer was that Monkedao acted as a way for projects essentially to have an incubator, to have ways to improve their space that they're looking to develop, to find potential customers, to find potential team members. Now we're working to offer, more services like stuff like NFT gated RPC nodes for people to actually be running their programs on it, especially in light of current market condition, as a way to like reduce some of the costs that our dev monkeys are having on a monthly or weekly basis. And I'm a community advocate. I spent a lot of time curating the people who were in this community very early on, where we had a set group of people that we wanted to focus on, not in a good vibes only. We discourage anyone who's dissenting opinions. There's more than enough dissenting opinions inside of Monkedao, but we want to focus on people who are very passionate in the space, who want to continue to make things and build things better, not in the terms of like build, where that's been co-opted by a lot of teams to really just mean like marketing or anything, but like I want to focus on teams like Mount&Pay, who are working to onboard, the next few 100 million users into Solana. I want to focus on, people like Noah from Strata, who are building out unique ways that people can actually dynamically mint coins or NFTs. I don't necessarily think that for anyone who's looking at it as a purely financial play, it might not be the place for you, right? You might be wanting to look at something that's passive income, like DCF, right? For example, where you're getting a specific revenue share. You might want to look at something like DGods, where you are getting, dust in that community and the benefits and incentives from there. I think we're very much a community for people who might not have, elsewhere to go, that really gets what they're trying to work on. I think the incentive for the normal NFT investor is that you have immediate insight into what the people who are actually building the next generation of projects are working on, as well as merch is cool. I like the events, I like the people, and I'm a big fan of the general vibe and understanding that we have right now. We also have, Monkey Ventures, which is a syndicate VC operating out of Singapore, which all members have access to, which gives, the opportunity for anyone, regardless of accredited investor status in the States, the opportunity to invest in early stage projects like Portals. We have all of our just different like infrastructure plays. We have all of our community incentives. Like there's a lot of things to talk about and to say. And I get that a lot of those don't necessarily resonate the most with people who are in NFTs to make money, which is, it's a hard thing to say if you're an NFT project and your goal is to not make money. But our goal is, we want to make it so that there's 5,000 individual monkeys who are influential people in the space, who are working to build cool projects, who are just trying to improve Solana in general and want to be around like-minded people. And at that point, when there's no monkeys listed on the floor, you can charge whatever you want for it, and that's your investment thesis. At least it is for me, for my spare monkeys. But I want to make sure that the people in the community actually survives. And today, in light of all of the blood in the crypto markets, it's a great example where I have a bunch of people who are educating new monkeys around trading. We have a bunch of people who are making the best of the situation in terms of like just community incentives and what's going on. We still have 4 events in the next 2 weeks that I'm helping to organize across 2 different continents. Like we're relatively unbothered with the current ecosystem, which is exactly where I want to be, because there's more than enough areas that you can be, which is people who are promising you generational wealth, or people who are trying to sell you something. And I don't think that's realistically what monkeys are about. There's obviously a high price to entry, but I think it's worth it, and I think it's consistently being delivered back to people. It's not as easy to see as something like a token, but I think the value is still there.
Sure. And I think for a lot of people, me especially, like the token was never a reason why I bought into monkeys. I think for your like average new person, they see the passive income play as like the bright fancy thing. And I actually kind of appreciate the fact that monkeys don't do that. I think, and kind of what Burmpf is hinting at here is, as a monkey holder in the dev team and learning about Gen 1 and the dev team, and this isn't, meant to be just talking poorly about the dev team, but I think for like somebody to spend that kind of money on an NFT, knowing that this is my opinion, I guess I should say, it was hard for me to feel comfortable holding it, knowing that there's the dev team issues lingering. Like I didn't know entanglement, how that was going to affect my investment, which for me was my first big NFT investment, right? Now, it was easy for me to justify it with what the Monkedao is doing and how much value that you guys bring. And like, just being honest, like you are almost 99% of the reason why I wanted a monkey. So kudos to you and what you do for the monkey, like for the DAO. But for like the SMB dev team and like what they're doing, are they aware? And I think you kind of already answered this earlier, but like a way to be more transparent on their end for those that are looking at buying a monkey. Like, is there stuff that they could do to, because when I heard or saw the tweet that they're like, hey, we're dropping the marketplace, and now we were, recommending doing Magic Eden when the entanglement vote was going on, it was like, okay, we're gonna continue to work and upgrade our marketplace. And it's like, well, okay, I'm not in the down or in the Monkedao Discord anymore. Obviously, I don't hold one, but so then at that point, I was like, why would I want to own a monkey at that point? Like, so is there transparency there possibly that the dev team is aware of that they could kind of change that to make people a little bit more bullish on monkeys than they already might be?
Yeah, I think there's two kind of ways that you can look at it. One of which is the development team. Like, I think the marketplace was very good for the time that it existed at. It was something that was custom built. It was, pre-auction house contract protocol. There wasn't really anything else they had to do. Like, they custom wrote the escrow contract. What that meant was that, there's technical debt as Solana has been improving that's difficult for them to maintain, especially for the level of complexity that things are at when you're competing with large scale companies like what Magic Eden or other marketplaces are turning into. It's harder for the small scrappy people to make a difference. Like, Tom and Soulport have an incredible team working on that marketplace, and they're still struggling to find market share just because of the monolith that ME is purely on marketing and implementation. And you can say as many good things or bad things as you want about Magic Eden, but that's where people trade. So does it make sense to still have a 0% marketplace fee rather than maybe pursuing like a reduced fee through something like Holoplex or Magic Eden or any of these other things, trying to move collection value over? I think it might be just that they've spent so much time trying to maintain this marketplace that they probably haven't had a chance to actually build out what they're looking for. I think the team is definitely aware of the frustrations and insights around like what is going on for the community, but I think they're in general happy with the way that they made a massive project that is, it's still top 4 by market cap. It's still one of the most talked about things on Twitter, for good or bad. Everyone has an opinion on monkeys and is happy to share it, which I like. I'm a big fan of anything where we're the topic of discussion. But I mean, the reason that the NFTs are still mutable right now, which is another thing that came out of the entanglement discussion, is so that future changes that I think they do have planned, regardless of who is controlling those keys or who is controlling the NFTs, I think that's something that they're very forward looking right now. And there was an announcement a couple of weeks ago that they are looking to make some relatively large changes. I'm sure that the general crypto market has not been kind to whatever those were supposed to be. And me and Jamie are fans of leaking. Whenever we have information, we share it as much as we can. I think it's just kind of an unfortunate confluence of events where they saw that they needed to make some changes. They saw that the marketplace was just a large scale drain on their development resources. They were looking to make stuff, and then kind of the bottom fell out of crypto, which isn't necessarily like an explanation or excusing any of their actions or communication, right? I think it's just it's the easiest explanation. It's the easiest story. And I'm at a point where I'm a community investor. I built the Monkedao community. I'm very happy to have an incredible amount of people who have helped me do that. I'm not really in the position where I'm going to continuously fund the devs or get mad at them just because I don't see there's a point of value. I've been working with them, for months at this point, and I think the best thing that we've ever done, and the way that we work together the best, is when I give them as much freedom to work on and build these things as they can. Or write very inflammatory Twitter threads, but I don't have one of those in the back pocket recently.
Sure. No. And that's good to know, because like the SMB dev team is actually working on things, because that was my biggest critic of the SMB, like, and owning a monkey, was that I didn't see or hear or understand the vision that the SMB team
Mm.
was working on anything other than the marketplace. So do they necessarily owe anybody that explanation? That's up for debate, I guess. But
100% they do.
as a
100%
holder,
they do.
it's like, oh, when I saw that, and I think that's why I've been as critical as I have, not at the DAO, because I feel bad when I say things that look poorly because it's not at the DAO. Like the DAO's amazing, and I think if the Mnkedao ran this project 100%, monkeys would be just an insane value play. Like I still think they are, but it feels like from the outside looking in currently that the dev team is just a giant weight on the Mnkedao. And it's hearing your perspective is nice because I think now I feel that that's an unfair criticism and to a degree from hearing, because you seem to have more conversations than your average monkey holder. So that makes me more bullish on monkeys than I was coming into this conversation. So once again, now I'm job well done. You make me want another monkey. But there's no details, as I'm assuming, that have been leaked as far as what they're working on, correct?
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of the communication issues can also be sorted to the way that we started the DAO, right? Like we essentially co-opted their community and took it and made it into not necessarily a separate organization, but one that they didn't have controlling and oversight onto how to run it. So a lot of that issue with how things are being run is also with us and just the way that we formed. It's a growing pains issue that we talk about, where I think there's a ton of things that we could have done better. I'd like to get back to the point where one monkey is greater than one Bitcoin. I would be a big fan of getting back to that. But I think the issues that we're tackling right now and the way that we're trying to handle a lot of DAO organization, because there's work to do improving the DAO. Like we have some issues around our committee structure. We have some issues around, I think, the way that we can streamline a lot of board transparency, which is something that we're working on. These are solid criticisms, like there's also things that that we're continuing to work on. I'm always happy to discuss any of these if there's ever something where I think people are trying to make us look bad or anything like that. Probably some people are, but
There's always going to be people funding the project.
Yeah,
you could have a perfect project. There's always going to be somebody there to try to tear it down just because they're not invested in it personally.
Yeah, if we ever have something where it's like people are only ever telling me like very positive things, that's not a good indication of what's going on. Like I'm trying to make a 90% perfect system. I'm trying to make it so that for 90% of the people who use it, it works 90% of the time, and that means it's really only an 81% success rate, right? So that means 19% of the time people should have complaints. And that's fine. Like I'm willing to live in a world where I think that if we can deliver to that execution level, we will be miles ahead of where we are currently. The issue right now is just getting it to the point where we increase our personal execution and make sure that we're doing everything that our holders are looking for.
Well, I think you might be a little bit more critical on yourself than what's really due, because I mean the Mnkedao is pretty well set up. I mean, like if I wanted to go into the Mnkedao and I had a complaint, I could ping anybody on the board and I could get a response and it'd be completely transparent. So I think like value wise, DAO's nuts. Like you go in there, like when I first got my monkey, I go in there and it's like, what is happening? Like there's so much going on. So like I think the DAO's a lot more well situated than I think you're giving yourself credit for. I do have one gripe with it though, and this is something I wanted to talk about. So you do a lot for the DAO. You do like all like the like event organizing and stuff, but you don't get paid. Has that been brought before, and what kind of conversations have been had about that?
Yeah, so this is probably something that's related a lot more to the potential monkey token, which was talks that were going around about 3 weeks ago when we were soliciting community feedback for what a DAO-based token would actually look like, whether it's purely governance, utility, everything in that. Right now, everyone in Monkedao is operating on a volunteer basis. We make sure that the DAO covers, things like some of the essential costs. So like for artists or illustrators to do their job. We pay the licensing fees. We make sure that whenever we hire anyone for outside consultancy or anything that we're doing around metaverse or anything that we pay them there. We make sure that for Monkey Ventures, we cover all of the operating costs that are going on. But the 99% of the people, myself included, and everyone else on the board is not compensated for what they are doing, just because we have a $600,000 treasury that we're actively managing, right? We're operating off of 2% of our royalties, throwing events and everything that we can across 3 different continents. Like we run on a very shoestring budget. So a lot of people have mentioned that they want to see the board or certain people in the ecosystem getting paid for the work that they are doing, which is something that I really echo and I believe in, but I don't want it to be a let's pay Nom or Jemmy kind of situation. I want it to be something where everyone who is contributing to SMB is actually getting paid in some way, shape, or form out of the value of the project. One of the things I talked about with a big brain with is the amount of recognition that you get purely just from having like a specific NFT profile picture on Twitter is incredible, right? Like SBB having a monkey as his Twitter profile has done more for the project than maybe I have, right? Like realistically, just in terms of like pure brand recognition of like what people are actually seeing, like that's massive, that's indescribable. So I'm trying to figure out a bunch of different ways right now where I can actually compensate everyone from purely that level of like send messages, be a part of the community, have a PFP of a monkey, all the way to DAO organization and art generation. And like I've got 2 of our board members right now who are in Lisbon searching for event venues and everything to get ready for Breakpoint so that we can throw a massive event and make sure that everything goes well in Solana. I have people who are actively designing merchandise. I've got 4 different teams who are working on building 3D monkey avatars, like that you will just own as part of your SMB. And these are all people who are very happy to work for free right now, but that was something that we did in an uptrend, in a bull trend, right? And now there's always been the situation where people, we've had people who go to work at Solana Labs or Foundation or Venture. We have people who have started their own NFT projects or their own marketplaces or their own protocols. There's always going to be brain drain because people are always going to go where they can make money. So there has to be some sort of compensation structure long term for this to work. Otherwise, there are going to be people who just keep leaving their project. I'm stuck in here. Like I love it. I'm very, very happy to continue volunteering work for free, but that's not a good way to kind of I guess showcase it to the community, because that means that like people see that like the people at the top aren't getting compensated for their work, they're not necessarily going to believe that they ever will either. So it's a long way of saying like right now people aren't being compensated. That's an issue. We're working on solving that, whether that's going to be through a token or through some other valuation metrics. The royalties, even everything that's being distributed to the dev team, the Gen 1 would not be nearly enough to do that. I'm trying to have payment to about 120 active contributors and 2,000 passive contributors right now across the DAO. So something like the weekly royalty revenue isn't going to be enough for that. So we're trying to build profitable sub businesses right now, which is the point of all of our DeFi infrastructure, like the validator and DAO pool that we get comments and conversations about. Like people always say, what does that actually do for the DAO? Like how does that help the average monkey holder? And the short answer is I want to get it to where that makes enough money where I can pay people who are working on non-revenue generating parts of the DAO a salary. I would love for it to get to that point. It's not there yet. It still has a lot of work to do, but we're slowly building up to that way where we will continue to build out all of those different sub DAOs to where they fund the entire DAO, make it a profitable entity, and then it'll be work to earn, right? It'll rather than being something where you're being given token for being a holder or for not having your NFT listed or anything like that, or going through the airdrop meta of secondary collections. Like it's going to be, hey, you're in a community, you're doing something, you're posting charts on Twitter, doing TA, you're reviewing projects, whatever it ends up being, you're getting compensated in some way, shape, or form for that. And it's, I think, rather than trying to promise people that we're going to give them something for nothing or something for just purchasing an asset, I want to make it so that DAOs are a lot better at actually paying people for the work that they are doing. And that's something that I think is going to be a the, I guess, like non-visible work that they're doing as being a community member.
Sure.
Right, this is something that we throw around as a term. So there's a really cool company founded by a monkey called Moonlit right now that we're working on, that was just demoing at the Athens Hacker House for DAO tooling as a way to essentially create a massive system of bounties and reward structures and operate payments inside of it. We're hoping that we can demo that, in July with a potential monkey token, or we might just use Dow Jones, which is a fractionalized monkey that we have as a stand-in for that payment structure. But there's a lot of ways that I think we need to compensate people just for this to work long term, especially going into the potential protracted bear market. Otherwise, like I don't really see the need for people who are leading projects to take a massive salary. I think you're probably more rewarded just in the opportunities or the potential that you have. But I also don't want to make it where people just go to Monkedao so that they can work there for 3 months and then go get a job somewhere else. I think that's also a net negative. So there's some better balance in there, and that's what me and a lot of the team work on, is just trying to improve based on the feedback that we've had from our community around tokenomics and incentive structures.
So all the work you do for Monkedao, all the traveling and everything, none of that is like compensated at all?
No, I have just now started putting in like requests for marketing for like small things. So usually I would self-fund a lot of events or dinners or anything around that. Same with several other members of the community. So we're trying to make it so that all of that is compensated, as well as like merchandise, shipping costs. I'd like to get to the point where we can actually do, like flights and hotels and everything being covered, but that's not necessarily sustainable. Like I think I've got something like $25,000 worth of costs for Monkedao I've put in over the last 9 months. I'm sure there are others with similar or greater.
Wow.
And that if we all did that, I would just drain the treasury right now. So that's not sustainable. Just like put in an expense report and hope that the community accepts it. And I mean, that's a growing pain. Like that's something that you take on because you believe in a community and you believe in a project. And that's where I'm at, where I want to really make this work, so that if anyone ever wants to copy the Monkedao and like build or improve on this model, that they have something very easy to do to improve that. And one of the biggest issues for DAOs in general is incentives and compensation structures.
Yeah, I think so. That's like my only gripe with the Monkedao, right? Is like the way that like compensation works. So the fact that you guys are working on it makes me feel a little bit better about it. But it kind of, I hate to keep tying back to the dev team, but I mean, I think that's like the compensation and the dev team go hand in hand thing, right? Because there's all the conversation about like royalties and stuff. And, like they don't, like transparency wise, right? Like we don't see them doing much and they take such a big chunk of it. But then like you turn around and like we see you doing all the things you do like for free. Like that's insane to me. So I am happy you guys are working on it. But like as a holder, I don't like for Monkedao, I don't care about any kind of like passive income. I don't care about like what value the monkey brings to me, right? Because it's 100% community. But like to see you put in all this work and getting, I don't want to say getting nothing out of it, right? Because obviously like you get like connections, you get to like experience these cool things at these events. But the fact that you're taking like such a financial burden on yourself for this, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. And like I understand like for you, like that's completely fine. And like obviously like you can do whatever you want. You're your own person. You're doing it voluntarily. But I think that's the only gripe I've ever had with a Monkedao. And the fact that you guys are working on it actually makes me really happy. And it makes me feel a lot better about the Monkedao.
Good. I'm hoping that's the case. That's what I want to talk about and work on. Right? Is there's still a ton of things that we can build and improve, and everything from execution to messaging. But it's something that people are waking up every single day saying, how can I fix and improve Monkedao, and how can I continue to showcase the great things? Because like I think we're the lead DAO in the space at this point. There's many others that are doing great, but I think we are the ones that people look at and watch and try to see what can they learn from and how can they improve it. And I'm always happy to keep working on that. But I understand that I'm in a super privileged position where I was able to quit my job in tech, trade in JPEGs and coins for a living, and I do all right just helping out projects. Like that's my thing. that's how I make my money. That means that I can spend 40, 60, 80 hours a week on Monkedao and not worry about it because I have other opportunities to bring in income. That's not sustainable for most of the other people here. And like, I'm also like, I'm a 26-year-old single dude, like living in Canada. Like, I don't have much in the way of costs. Like, I'm not paying kids tuition or, you know, holding a mortgage, right? Like,
Right.
I'm in the perfect position to be able to do a lot of these things. And that's probably why you see a lot of me out publicly talking about this or going on Twitter spaces or at all of these events, is because I'm in a very unique position that a lot of other people aren't. And I think that biases it to a point of like what people see when they're viewing me representing Monkedao. I had a much better point. I just lost that. I apologize. I think it's very, very easy to always get boiled down into like the issues of what we can keep doing better, just because like I'm a very negative person on like myself and my interactions, but I think it's massive to focus on like we're building up a whole generation of spokesmonkeys, of people who can come on to projects like these and talk and share a lot more of this information, just because I'm a bottleneck for info, like full honesty. I need to make it so that's not the case. So I'm trying to get a bunch of impassioned community members who want to go and talk on this. You know, we've got 3 different community podcasts or community conversations, whether they're podcasts or Twitter spaces, going every single week, for if you count like our town hall that's being put on every single week. Like we're working on a lot of the messaging so that it's specifically not coming just from me, because I don't think that I'm necessarily I think I take a lot of the credit for the things when things go well, and I think a lot of people take the fall when things go poorly, and I don't think that's the case. So I'm working on making it so that you see as much of what everyone else is also working on.
Well,
I
I will
think
say,
I appreciate that.
yeah, I think you might have been the perfect person for the position you got put into. Just because, like, I don't like how many other people do we know in this space that are so like 100% committed to their project. I mean, like we got like Frank with D Gods, right? But I mean, like obviously he's the founder of the project. It makes sense that he's like invested. But like, I genuinely think like you're probably one of the lead contributors of bringing people into the Monkedao too.
I'm very good at going into events and talking about monkeys. It's one of my strong points.
See, I haven't even been to an event. I'd love to get to one, to go to one. But just from a Twitter and Discord perspective, like just so you're aware, like your presence is felt. And I hope the Monkedao appreciates that. Like I didn't mean to turn this into like a kiss ass nom session, but like it's
I'll
like,
take it. I would like one. That'd be good.
like for me personally, like I said, like seeing what you've done and what you did, like it made me aspire to do kind of what I'm doing, right? And honestly, you're the only reason why I've even considered still having a monkey. Me and Burmpf have talked about this privately, but no, I think the future of SMB and the DAO is severely underrated in the Solana space. The floor price does not indicate that whatsoever. But as far as the outlook and what it brings to this ecosystem, I think is super underrated. And I think you guys all deserve a ton of credit for what you're doing. As harsh as a lot of people are, myself included on Twitter, like I haven't been the kindest about the DAO, but it's not the DAO, the dev team rather. But with that being said, this has been very insightful to see kind of that there's stuff being worked on, and that's cool because like the dev team announced they weren't working on the marketplace, and I wish there would have been follow up to that like there was, and maybe there was and I just missed it, that there's things that they're still contributing, because for me it just seemed like they were leeching off of what the DAO was doing, and I think that's kind of an outside perspective for some, and it's hard. It was hard for me to justify, but now I have a job to do to find my monkey. I got to get it back. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, FUD on the dev team for not doing enough is like that's directly counteracted. Like me and Jamie both quit our jobs to work full time on monkeys and showcasing this. Like we live and breathe and are existing in this ecosystem because we both got brought in by people who really exemplified the first Solana summer. Like we got brought into people who were that incredible, amazing, good vibes community that we're always trying to replicate. And so if you just have like a passion project that you want to work on 10 hours a week, and you have, your counterpart is some unemployed dude who spends 100 hours a week in Twitter Spaces and on Discord, like it's very easy for the Mnkedao to kind of project a lot of that narrative, because I am online 10 times more than they are, right? Like
Sure.
that's just a pure metric game, and once the narrative gets put in there, it just kind of grows and compounds, and a lot of people talk and give their comments and their opinions on it. And that's not, trying to say like, oh, I'm always around and the dev teams aren't, but it's like I physically just spent a ton of time being active in the space, and I want to make sure that we are highlighting the people who are not necessarily as public about what they're doing and aren't coming onto podcasts and aren't necessarily doing all these different things. They're shit posting on Twitter for 10 hours a day, like mostly because those people are doing great work and they're focusing on doing and building things. I think we really incentivize or want to focus on people who are spending every single minute of every single day working on their projects. And I don't think that's healthy. Like, I think we need to get better at doing like a work-life balance idea of like, oh, my dev is putting like 35 hours a week into the project, and then they also go and take care of their family or go on trips or take vacations, something like that. Like, I think we really got into this mindset in Meta where it's just like you can only ever exist for your project and do these things every single day forever. Like, you're never allowed to work on anything else. But Bunjil does a really good thing, or a really good conversation where he's talking about like someone minted the NFT, and that means that the project creator has to work for them forever for the rest of their lives and like always be available doing it. It's like that's not the case in any other investment or commodity. Like, I don't go to this like the people behind Lululemon whenever I have like when I get too fat for my pants, or like because I see someone taking a vacation, right? Like there's issues that I can put onto them that aren't necessarily their fault, and there's also time that they're allowed to take off and not necessarily be communicating or listening to every single question like that. And I think that's something that we really lost the idea of in this NFT and community meta, where we're just expecting people to be putting every single minute that they have into these projects, and that's not healthy or sustainable.
No.
There's also a better balance of more communication than Twitter posts every 2 weeks. Like there's more that could be talked about, absolutely, but somewhere in there needs to be a healthy and sustainable middle balance so that we don't have a bunch of people just burn out and leave the space.
Yeah. So, and this is a kind of something that I was thinking about after I got rid of my monkey the first time was, is there an incentive to merging the Discords? Because them looking separate, or the two separate Discords is kind of interesting. There's not a lot of projects that I'm aware of that have like the two separate Discords as far as communication and coming together. Has that ever been something that's been discussed?
Yeah, so the Monkedao Discord was always kind of meant, or like idea was just like this holders only chat and communication and place that we're sharing a lot of info. And the SMB Discord was the public version of obviously the one that controlled by the project creators and where people can go and ask their questions. And we're actually working with the team right now to not necessarily like delete one and put both together, but we're trying to push a lot of the information so that it's mirrored between the two, so that people can, whether they go through the SMB Discord through like their Twitter, or the Monkedao Discord through our Twitter, or anything like that, they find the same answers as the same questions, as well as informations about both, because we're essentially working on two joint brands, but that both have different, like very similar, but still separate scopes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to find the best way to work together for those. I think probably the future of it is eventually like one giant conglomerate Discord. I don't know really who would be controlling that or how it would go, or what the way that eventually like manifests, but it's something that we've talked about internally in the Monkedao, as well as with the development team, on like specifically handling those kinds of issues.
So you do feel like the DAO and the dev team have kind of a unified vision of what's next?
Yeah, I think we're both acting in the way where we really want to make sure that, not only is, the Monkedao and SMB the premier community on Sol, and that's a buzzword statement, but like an actual community where people come to learn things, to develop their personal skills, to improve their like their social connections, to find ways that they can become more active in the ecosystem, but also as a way where we can expand the brand, and we can bring more people into Solana. We can bring more people into the idea of Monkey, and we can, hopefully this becomes a good investment for people. It obviously still is for people who minted monkeys, but not necessarily for others, especially with current Sol price. So those are all top of line issues. I would say we're just trying to figure out the best way where we can have two slightly separate teams working together and pushing it forward. And that's a lot of our internal conversations right now.
I mean, I don't know how Burnt feels, but that was, I mean, this is answered a lot of my concerns with the owning a monkey. Like, I think that if there's unified talks and like the dev team is actually contributing to what the DAO's vision is, or vice versa, then I think I feel a lot more comfortable holding a monkey than I did coming into this conversation, because that was the thing I was talking to Burmpf about. I was like, it makes, for me personally, nervous holding on to that kind of investment, knowing that entanglement or whatever is still there, because I wasn't aware that the dev team was even contributing. And so personally, I think that this conversation has gone really well for making me feel more bullish on monkeys, because I've always kind of been bullish on monkeys and what they've done for the ecosystem. And I mean, anybody that sees an SMB, monkey PFP, it's a big deal, and I hope it continues to stay that way.
I hope that we continue to be at the forefront. It's not something where it's like, I think we always have to be like a top market cap project, or the top like dollar or like Sol value or dollar value collection or NFT, but I want us to still be a very strong force in the space, and to continue to, get cross-chain recognition and be something that people are proud of. Like, I want people to always be happy that they're a monkey and be happy to talk about it. And from, I get to go to a lot of events, and I get to talk to a lot of people on the ground. And that's something that I always see. I don't think it's necessarily as prevalent on maybe something like Twitter, but that's something where, a few loud voices always dominate the conversation. I would
I'll
like
name
to
names, but
yeah, whatever. It's a social platform. It's designed for people to have megaphones rather than microphones. I think we'll continue to work on that. I'm just happy whenever I see, I wake up and I see sales bots alerts, and the monkey can cost whatever it is, but I always see the same message being repeated over of someone who's been like working the last couple of months and now has a monkey, and they're happy, and they join the Discord and they talk, and we figure out what they're interested in, and then we go from there. And that's more important to me than any metric, right? Is like, people are always joining my community and happy, and I just want to keep it doing it that way.
Yeah, I mean, my personal experience whenever I first joined, like I said, it was like a whole new world. Like JPEG said, like he'd been grinding for it for a long time. I got started even before monkeys were a thing. I was like way back when like Soul Punks weren't even minted out yet. I was doing Solana stuff, and I dropped the ball. I missed it on SMBs, and it took me like another 6 months to get into the dabble. Once I was there, it was like euphoric. It was awesome. So I hope that what the DAO is today for new people is what it was like for me back in like February, January, whenever it was that I joined. Well, no, it was great having you. I appreciate you answering our questions. I think you made both of us feel a lot better about having monkeys, the future of what the DAO looks like and such. So where can people find you at?
Yeah, I am the only nom on Twitter and Telegram, if that works better for you. I'm always available at the Mnkedao Discord. I'm at pretty much every hacker house on the ground. I will be hanging around wearing monkey merchandise, so if you see anyone, just come say hi. Always happy to meet people.
What are the upcoming events for the Mnkedao?
So right now, this will geodate it for June 13th. We have the London Hacker House. We've got a kind of happy hour like right next to the Hacker House for monkey holders, as well as like anyone who's available at the Hacker House and wants to just come over and chat and talk. It's always a good way of, we try to focus on like one monkey only event, and then like one broader event, so that people who are coming to the conference get to meet each other, and then so that they get to meet like the broader part of the space. On top of that, we have 2 events going on in NFT NYC, which will be the 20th and 22nd. And then we have a dinner for monkeys planned on the 26th of June in Barcelona. Past that, we are gearing up for kind of like 1-year anniversary events, which we're hoping to run 3 events across North America, Europe, and Asia. And hopefully get into highlighting some of our Australian monkeys very soon. Haven't been able to organize an event in South America yet. That is on the list before end of year. So
Awesome.
if you're a monkey and you want an event around you, please come and bother me in the marketing channels in Discord. I'd love to talk.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate having you.
I mean, yeah, thank you guys for sorting this out and for working around my travel schedule. I appreciate it. And
It took us a little bit to get this figured out, huh?
JPEG, we didn't even fight on this. We were solid. We were very we were nice and civil. I'm happy.
If that, I mean, people need to a little quick backstory. We'll make it real quick. When I first joined the Monkedao, I caught Nam on a bad day, and I didn't know Nam that well, whatever, joking around, and Nam literally wanted to fight me day one. And I was like, wait, bro, I'm kidding. Like, what's up? But hey, I'm not a big fighter, but like if I guess push comes to shove, like I'll go rounds. Why not?
I think everyone in this chat wants to box everybody in this chat.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a boxer. I've never I've been punched once in my entire life, and I remember it to this day. And I mean, I grew up in like a small town, Utah, dude. Like, there's not exactly a ton of fights going on here. Okay.
Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious.
Good stuff. Anyways, Nam, I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, man. So
always, guys.
Thanks for taking your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to listening more. And I'll hopefully be on again.
One day. Well, I hope to be at the 1-year event. So I'll get my monkey back and we'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. All right. Later, man.